introducing myself so that everyone gets an opportunity to know who I am. Good evening, everyone. I'm State Senator Lena Taylor, and for those of you who don't know me, I want to give you just a little bit of my history. I'm born and raised in Milwaukee County. I live on the block that I went to Lincoln Park to, the block I went to Atkinson Library, the block I went to E.L. Phillip, and then I went to Rufus King High School. And ultimately the same block that I catch the 62 from so that I could go to UWM to go to college. Lived in Milwaukee all of my life until I left to go to school in Carbondale, Illinois. And I have to tell you, I left saying I'd never come back to Milwaukee because it had so many issues. But I want you to know, be careful what you pray for. You just might get it. Went to Carbondale, Illinois. Found out that the grass is not always greener on the other side of the fence, and that you can either be a part of the solution or a part of the problem. Chose to come back home to be a part of the solution, worked in the public defender's office for 2.5 years before I opened up my own law practice. Did that for 8 years. As well as I started my own real estate investments, saved $2,000, bought my first property, grew to nearly 20 properties, and simultaneously subcontracted myself to a lawyer and grew to 3 lawyers working for me and 5 support staff. Want you to know that came from a business family. My grandmother owned a grocery store, my mother and grandmother owned a restaurant, and my father owned an insurance company. I didn't know there were child labor laws when I grew up, so I learned hard work very early on in life. It's the same thing I applied when I was a student, and the same thing I applied when I came back from law school and when I went to start my own business. I've been a state senator for 2 years, and before that I was a state rep. I was a state rep until you sent Whitmore to Congress. And when you sent her to Congress, she turned to me at her dining room table and said, "You should run for Senate." I've been in the Senate. I sit on finance. The Finance Committee, Check Writing Committee, and in addition to that, I chair the Judiciary, Corrections, and Housing Committee. I want to bring the same things that I've learned as a business person, as a lifelong resident of Milwaukee. I want to bring those skills to the table so that we can put our county on the right track, because frankly, it's been mismanaged badly.
Thank you, Linda. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's fine.
All right, to our first question then. We'd like you, if you would, to describe the kind of transit systems you envision in Milwaukee County in 2012. How are they paid for? What places do they connect? And who do they serve?
The kind of transit system that I envision is like the transit system when I was growing up. One that you can go to a bus stop, and I met a beautiful little girl in the audience today who came up to me and said, "I don't like that they cut the buses and it takes too long." I want a transit system that keeps routes like Route 15, Route 11, keeps those routes in place. I want a transit system that you can literally not have to get up and, 2-3 hours ahead of time so that you can make it to work on time. A system that has enough usefulness so that it will increase ridership. For those of you who may not be aware, we used to have the best system in the nation for a mid-sized system. Approximately 3 years before our county executive, our present county executive became our county executive. In 5 years, he's taken our ridership back to what it was 33 years ago. In addition to that, he's increased fares to 50% to what it's equivalent to in the Chicago area. So what I envision is, a system that is useful to the individuals in the community. And how is that paid for? That's paid for by making sure that the mismanagement, the inefficiencies that presently exist in county government because of the mismanagement from the county executive, that we can redirect those proceeds. And in addition to that, we ultimately may have to look at an independent funding source if we can't get all of the funds that we need from the federal level and the state level, and it takes someone who has relationships to get us those kind of proceeds.
It seems that public transit in Milwaukee is a hot topic because all of the questions from the audience for the county executive are also on bus use. I'm just going to go to those right away. How will you promote bus use?
I had an opportunity to ride the bus most recently so that I could talk to the individuals who are riding the bus every day. And, you know, one of the ways that you promote whatever it is that you want when you're in business is that you encourage it by shining a light on it, making sure that people know that it's there. You try to figure out where you can improve it to make it more useful to individuals in the community. So the things that I heard when I talked to people on Route 15 was the lack of access was the thing that, you know, made individuals not utilize the routes as much as they used to. When I talked to individuals who are now, you know, driving to work, it was because the route that was on near their job was cut. So they had to ultimately not continue to ride. So we have to be accountable, I think is the best word that I can think of, for the residents and trying to make sure that we're supplying the needs. We need to connect people to the jobs, hospitals, schools, all those kind of things in my time.